Smile.
But I'm not happy.
People are staring. I don't want to do this.
You have to. They'll know
No one
something's
cares
wrong.
about your
Why
life.
is that bad?
Nobody cares. They won't understand.
Nobody
I want to go
cares.
home.
You'll hurt their feelings.
This was ridiculous. What are
Why
we even
just
talking
talking
about?
like,
When
just
you want to
keep
keep them
them
happy?
cute. What if they
They're
think
gonna
you're
be
stupid?
mean.
Just
Just
keep
keep them
them
happy.
happy.
Just keep them happy. Just lie.
I'm not here to sugarcoat, life's already a bumpy road. Too much shelter causes pain, let's just be real honest. Things are gonna knock you down, avoidance will not help you out. Let's talk it through, here me and you, let's keep it real honest.
Welcome to Real Honest, the podcast where I share candid thoughts and feelings about life, love, and relationships, God and church, adulting, the workplace, and everything in between. I'm your host. My name is Samantha, and you probably won't always like me, but I'll always be honest with you. Hi, everyone. It's been a minute, several minutes. Why is that the expression when it's been a long time? That doesn't make any sense. It's been weeks, many weeks. How are you doing? I hope you guys are good. I hope you are rested and crushing your goals and making positive moves in relationships. And if you're not, I hope that you are moving in a direction that you're going to look back on and be proud of. Quick check-in on goals. This is your reminder to reflect back on the progress that you have made and reset. If you were pursuing a goal that you no longer want to pursue, you can totally scrap it and pursue something else. If you set a goal and you didn't get anywhere close to it, you can start again. You can just reorder the tasks or reevaluate how far you want to get or your timeline or something like that. My writing goal for the year was to complete 12 chapters in 12 months. I have completed 7 chapters, so if you're going by 1 chapter a month, I'm slightly behind. But I also Googled roundabout how many words 12 chapters is supposed to be, and I have surpassed that. And I also haven't planned out how many chapters are going to be in my book total. So I decided that having the goal of like a chapter a month didn't really make sense, especially because I don't write a chapter at a time. I write scenes at a time, sometimes just paragraphs or sentences. So I basically have changed my goal. And so instead of wanting to write 12 chapters this year, I just want to consistently write twice a week. So I've set up some time on my calendar, Sunday afternoons and Tuesday mornings as my dedicated 2 hours for writing. Since I set that up, I have been pretty consistent with it. It's been helping me stay on track with getting progress on my book every single week. This week in particular, I have used both of my writing sessions to do homework because this week is so busy that something had to go. So hopefully I'll get back to writing next week. I also had a reading goal of, I think, 30 books this year. I'm pretty sure I wanted to read 30 books this year. According to Goodreads, I've read 35, but 4 or 5 of those were DNF. So I technically have met my reading goal unless you don't count books you don't finish like me, so I'm very close to it. But once I hit it, I'll just set a new goal and keep on going. I did not set a specific weight loss goal for the year because I thought that would be detrimental to me mentally, but I did have various health goals of like specifics and trying to drink more water, and I did my 90 days of 10,000 steps, and now I'm doing another 90-day thing. It's like 90 days of HIIT training. I'm trying to do a second 90 days of 10,000 steps in conjunction with the 90 days of HIIT training because the 90 days of 10,000 steps did not result in any weight loss, and neither did the first 30 days of the 90 days of HIIT training. And this is all going, I know, like I don't need anyone messaging me about like, well, make sure you're dieting. Like I eat very well, don't irritate me. But I really was just trying to see how steadily increasing my activity and doing like certain specific workouts affected me and like changed things. So I feel like I do have more energy. I'm definitely a lot stronger, and like maybe that's all I'm gonna get out of it. I would love to tell you that that's enough for me, but it's really not. But we'll see. I have 60 more days, and then we'll see what I do after that. I do like working out now. I feel like that's a positive. Like it's not, I was going to say it's not a chore. That's not totally true. It's less of a chore. It's more something that I look forward to. Usually it's getting started that's like hard, but once I get like into the workout, I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun. So I think that's also something you can try if any of the goals that you set aren't quite working. Like, if you know that you want to get more active, right? And you set a weight loss goal and you don't hit the weight loss goal in the time for me, that's something that makes me like want to throw in the towel, and I'm like, this was a waste of time. There's no point. So that's why, look at other things. Like, okay, well, maybe eating better can give me more energy. Like maybe I want to get more stronger. Like change it to something else that is also meaningful and helpful to you that you can go after, so that you don't immediately kill the goal. Unless, of course, if the goal is like harming you in some way, or if you just lose interest in it. That's part of why I haven't finished so many books this year, because initially I was reading really fast to make sure that I hit my reading goal. But then I was like, I'm sitting here reading a book that I don't like just because I'm 30% of the way through it, or halfway through it, or even one of them I was like 75% of the way through it. Like, it was like, you may as well finish, but I really didn't enjoy it. And I'm like, life's too short to waste time on things that I don't like. I just had to pause this for like a whole 10 minutes before I could go into my what I'm learning from God right now segment, because I was like, I don't know. What am I learning from God right now? I'm not quite sure. Part of it is being back in school. It's very difficult, in my opinion, and I've talked to other students about this who agree, but it seems pretty difficult to keep your like personal study time while in seminary, because there are so many books to read, so many classes to go through, so many people to talk to, so many papers to write. And it's like, you feel like, oh, I don't need to read my devotional, or I don't need to read the Bible and do my prayer journal because I'm praying every day in class. Like, I'm praying with other students before and after class. My professors are opening class with prayer. We're talking about the Bible. We're reading about the Bible. So it gets easy to confuse those two things, but it also, it's a completely different lens when you're like reading the Bible from like a theology standpoint of understanding, like just learning more of what was the context and what's being said here, and like, what does this mean? What does that mean? What do different theologians argue about in pertaining to this passage? That's a completely different activity than like sitting with Jesus and saying like, speak, your servant's listening, wanting to really understand and glean something. So even though I'm only taking one class this semester, just doing that with work has really picked up. Like, there's just a lot going on to try, and still I'm working on really trying hard to still make time for my Bible study. But just like my book had to go this week so I could do homework, like Bible study is another thing that often goes. So while that's something that I'm working on, I will say what I feel like I am learning from God right now is being open and willing. I feel like I have a lot of possibilities up in the air right now. There's just like stuff feels up in the air with seminary, stuff feels up in the air with work, stuff feels up in the air with church in some capacities, where I'm just kind of like, I don't have a specific target that I'm running toward. I'm kind of like, I could go either way. Like, I can finish this degree here in this way that I'm doing it right now, or I could switch to do school online. I could switch to a different school. I could take the next year off. Like, I could stay in this job for another year. I could start a new job tomorrow. Like, I'm just very much like ready to walk through whatever door opens next. And kind of while I'm waiting to see a door open, I am surprisingly not anxious about it. I'm just kind of like just chilling day to day. And I'm like, all right, God, you let me know when it's time to make a move. And I feel like a move is imminent. I just don't quite know what it is or in what direction it's going to take me. And I feel like that is often where God wants us. Like, if we look at all the times that he like calls somebody to follow him in the Bible, or to a specific place or a specific person or whatever it is, there are examples of people that just like immediately follow him. And then there are examples of people that are like, me, like, you really want me to do this, or you want me to do that? Like, are you sure? Like, there's a lot of pushback. And I feel like I'm in that transition of like, I used to push back a lot, and now I'm just like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But my topic today is posing the question, why is communicating with other people so hard and uncomfortable so often? The lyric that I titled this episode after is specifically referencing like a breakup, like the first time you're in a room with your ex and you're pretending not to know each other and it's just really awkward because you totally do know each other and had this whole thing. But I feel like that's still relevant to kind of any relationship, especially ones that are new. So I don't totally know what is going on, but I feel like awkward and uncomfortable has just been the vibe of the week, kind of the vibe of the month. Like the last few weeks have just been weird. And since school started, I feel like I've just had all of these really odd interactions with people where I constantly find myself wondering, like, was that as uncomfortable for them as it was for me? Are they weird and I'm normal, or am I weird and they're normal? Or did we both perceive this as a strange interaction, or am I the only one and I'm just super judgy? A big part of it is, as you all know, I hate small talk. I absolutely detest it. And it's because I feel like small talk is a waste of time and I don't like to have my time wasted. So it's kind of like, you know, if you're on an elevator and somebody says like, nice weather today, and you go, yeah. And then you get off the elevator, you're on different floors, you don't know each other, you're never going to speak again. It's like, what was the point in commenting on the weather when we could have just ridden in silence or stared at our phones, or like, did that do anything for either of us? And I feel like in most cases it didn't, which made it a waste of time. The elevator example is probably not great when I'm trying to illustrate time wasting, because either way we were going to be on the elevator for the 30 seconds or however long. Like, it's not like I stayed in the elevator longer to talk about the weather. But so I'll use more specific examples with like what I'm experiencing the past few weeks. So like there are so many students that have walked up to me and you have to have the whole conversation of like, I don't think I've seen you before. Are you new? What's your name? How many semesters have you been here? What degree are you pursuing? And, you know, you answer all those questions and you say, how about you? And it just infuriates me because the whole time I'm having the conversation, in my brain, I'm going like, as soon as this conversation is over, you are not going to remember my name or which semester this is for me or what degree I'm pursuing. And I'm also not going to remember those things about you. So why are we wasting 5 minutes of each other's time to stand here and have this conversation when we could be doing something else? And it's not these conversations in themselves that have been uncomfortable, but it's been a weird, like, I will be sitting somewhere working on something and there's like a girl a few rows in front of me and I see her turn around and look at me like multiple times, like 5 or 6 times turns around and looks at me, to the point where I start looking around like, is she looking at me or am I just being paranoid and she's looking for someone? But then finally she walked up to me and did the whole like, I don't think I've seen you before. Are you new? And I'm just sitting there like, what is with the pausing and staring at me like before you decided to do this? Like, that just was odd to me. And it hasn't just been this girl, it's been multiple people. And it's almost like I am watching them in real time think through, did I already meet this girl? Or is this a different person that I need to meet? Oh, I'm not sure. Wait, yes, no, yeah, no, I don't know her. Let me go talk to her. But I'm also like, there are very, very few Black people on this campus, so it just shouldn't take that long to figure out if you've talked to me or not yet. But so there's the awkwardness of that. And then you share names and degree programs and whatever, what you all forget immediately. And then we awkwardly stand there and it's like, okay, the conversation's over. Like, those are the only questions I know to ask you is, what's your name? Where are you from? How long have you been here? What degree are you pursuing? And then it's like, I want to say more, but I don't know what to say. And so we just kind of stand here until one of us is like, all right, well, nice meeting you, and like walks away. But if this conversation is happening before class and I'm sitting in my seat and the other person has like walked over to me to do this, it's like I just awkwardly wait for them to walk away or like lie and say that I have to go to the bathroom so I can just like get out of it. And I am just like, why is this so uncomfortable? And I think part of what is really uncomfortable for me is that I would love to say out loud, can we just not, and say we did? Because we're not going to remember each other's names or degree programs or anything after this. But I feel like that would come across as very rude. And it's like, I'm not trying to be rude. I just don't want to waste your time, and I really don't want you to waste my time. So if there's something that we actually can discuss, then let's discuss it. It feels the same way in work meetings for me. Like if I'm in a work meeting and people want to start the meeting with like, talk to me about your background. What did you do this weekend? What's the weather like where you live? I am like, if you actually care about those details of my life, then I'm happy to share them with you. But if you don't actually care, then can we just hop into the work? Like if this meeting is scheduled for 30 minutes and we're going to spend the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes talking small talk, then we could have scheduled this meeting for 20 minutes and just done the work in 20 minutes and given everybody 10 minutes back. And it's just like, it's never things that are like really helping you get to know a person. So I just really don't understand the point of it. Like, this is the legitimate question. Like, if you have an answer, please email me at realhonestpod@gmail.com. Like, why do we do this? Specifically with school, for me, my therapist explained it as like, this is a bunch of like new students that moved here specifically to go to this seminary. It's their first semester. I'm only going part-time. So like for my first year and a half is going to be everyone else's first semester. So even though like this is now my second semester, I'm in class with another round of people that are all just starting for the first time. So she's like, you have to imagine like, these people just moved here. They have no family here. They don't have a church home yet. They don't know anyone. They live on campus and they're just grasping at straws of like, will you be my friend? Will you be my friend? Will you be my friend? And she's like, you, Samantha, are very established. You have a home here. You have family here. You've lived here most of your life. You have your church home and your church community, and you're established. Like, you're really not looking for anything else. Like, you're just here to learn. So you get to class early and you're looking at work emails in the 15 minutes before class starts. And then as soon as class starts, you want class to start, you want to learn, and you want to go. Whereas other people are getting to class early because they're looking for friendship. They're looking to find their footing. They're looking to meet someone who's going to help them feel at home. Now, I think this makes perfect sense and I totally understand it. I just don't think that it's happening in an accurate way, which I think is unfortunate. So I'm trying to think of like what could be a more helpful way. And I even like some of these people, it's like we have this conversation and then at the end of class, or not even the end of class, the next time they see you, they're like, remind me your name again. And so some of these people I ask, I'm like, how many times have you had this conversation today and how many people's names do you remember? And most people will respond to me with like, oh, like, yeah, I've gone around and I've met every person in this class and I remember maybe 2 of their names. And it's like, you might not remember my name, but you are going to remember my face and that I asked you this question because that's memorable. Like the school only has like 5 degree programs. So you're not going to remember who's in each one. And also, does it matter? And do you actually care? Like, I think that's the other thing for me is I feel like so much of small talk is like just passing time and you're not asking questions. Like you don't actually care how the weather is, where somebody that you're in a meeting with is, unless they come in saying like, oh, I'm sorry that I'm so late. There was a torrential downpour and that usually doesn't happen in California. And you're like, oh my gosh, let's talk about global warming and like maybe it goes somewhere. But I think fundamentally the problem is that we all are craving this connection with other people and we just have no idea how to go about getting it. I know that I'm an open book and a lot of people are not and they need warm up time. So part of what's helpful with small talk, I assume, to others that find it helpful is that it gives them that warm up time. It's like, okay, I'm going to ask their name and then I'm going to ask the weather and then I'm going to ask where they're from. And hopefully, eventually, after I've asked enough questions, I will be able to piggyback off the question into something meaningful. So like, I'm going to ask where they're from and hopefully they're going to mention a city or a town that I am familiar with or that I want to learn more about or that I know somebody who lives there or is from there. So we'll have that connection. And then you just kind of keep asking. If that doesn't happen, then it's like, oh, well, tell me about, I've never been there. I've never heard of that place. What's it like there? Tell me more about that. And you try to just get the people talking until you can like find the thing. But wouldn't it be a lot quicker if you just start with, instead of tell me your name and where you're from and your degree program, what if the initial question is, tell me your top 5 favorite things in the world? You know, with a question like that, the person is going to pause and think. They're going to share with you their favorite things. You're going to really learn something about them that's going to be a whole lot more memorable than a name, a random town, and the name of a degree, which is the same information that you've gotten from everybody else. Like if you're asking everybody to tell you their top 5 favorite things in the world, their responses are going to be pretty different. Like you should expect to hear something from someone that's different enough that you can remember it. And I know there's a lot of talk about how like the younger generations today have like been on their phones their whole lives and they're so used to communicating digitally that they just don't know how to talk face to face. I do wonder if it's that, or did people really ever know how to talk face to face? Like I feel like our parents' generations were having a whole lot of small talk too. And I just wonder, like, is this why everyone's getting high and why like drinking culture is such a big thing? Like when go to office happy hour, like when people want to hang out, like meet up for drinks because you just need to feel more comfortable because of how awkward it is to just sit and have a conversation with someone. For some people, it's probably the pressure of like, will they like me? I want them to like me. I want them to think I'm nice. I want to come off clear. It also feels like there's a right and wrong answer to a lot of questions in people's mind. So like multiple people have asked me if I'm excited to go back to school, and I've said no. And they're like, what do you mean? You chose to go to school. You wanted this. Like this was something that you decided to do with your own time and your money. Like how can you not be excited? And then it just gets weird. Like I don't really know how to respond to that. And there's an awkward like, okay, do they really care to hear about school and how I'm feeling about school? Because what I'm feeling right now is that they asked because they expected me to say, yeah, I'm totally excited. And then they'd probably say something like, what are you studying again? And I'd be like, theology. And they'd be like, oh, great, interesting. And then we'd move on. And it just like wouldn't go anywhere. But, you know, with me saying no and then people being like confused by it, I can explain more of like, I don't find school exciting. Like I have never been a person that like loves school. Like I'm good at school, but I can't say that it's something that I enjoy. I'm good at reading. I'm good at writing. I know how to study. I don't like it. It's not fun. I didn't go to seminary because I think theology is fun and interesting. Like I went to seminary because I think that Christians need to know the Bible, and I claim to be a Christian and I don't know the Bible, so I'm trying to learn it. That I think is interesting. I think that response should prompt like, what do you mean Christians don't know the Bible? Like, oh, really? What is it that you, like, what moved you to seminary as opposed to, like, just reading it? Or, like, you know, but nobody asks those follow-up questions. It's like they're so confused that I said no to their initial question of, am I excited to be back in school? That now they're just waiting for me to stop talking so they can move on to the next thing, which communicates to me that, like, they didn't even really care to talk to me about this in the first place. So, again, why are we wasting each other's time and why are we doing it? Now, I know a lot of this with me personally just has to do with my absurdly high standards for friendship, which leads into my hard conversation this week, which I had with my therapist, because when working with each other for years now, and she's like, you know, I just have like really been trying to get you to see that like not every relationship is going to be a 10 out of 10 experience. And basically my personal struggle is that I don't find meaning in lesser experiences. I'm just like, what is the purpose? Why bother? And even though I know that I've done whole episodes on like the different friendship zones and that the goal is not to have all your friends the zone for besties, but to be balanced and have like the social media friends, the work friends, the gym friends, you know, the close friends, the best friends, whatever, even though like that is the general like goal. Personally, I don't like that. Like, I don't care to have friends that I only interact with on social media, and I don't care to have friends that I only interact with at work. I kind of view it more like if there's somebody at work that I can complain to about my work stress, and like that's our whole relationship, is us either whining back and forth about work stress or cheering each other on for different projects. Like, I can do that with my sisters, and then my sisters and I can carry on into a conversation about something else after. So like, what really is the point in the work friend when I can have the work friend conversations with a different friend that serves a larger purpose in my life? And of course, that tends to make me very dismissive of many people. And like, that's what my therapist is trying to help me work on. So it's the kind of thing of like, all these other students at school that are like wanting to have the same small talk conversation with everyone. I am like, that's wasting my time. Like, if you want to actually get to know me, let's set a date and time to hang out after class, to go get coffee, to sit in the student center or whatever, and ask each other genuine questions about our lives. But like, if you're just going to come interrupt me while I'm working to ask if I'm from here and if it's my first semester, then I would prefer to not be interrupted. But of course, that's like very rude to be like, hey, go away, I don't want to talk to you. So that therapy session for me was really kind of like us going back and forth of like, how can I not view these relationships as lesser necessarily? I don't think that that's even the best language to use. I think it's more accurate to say I view the relationships as lesser. I definitely don't view the people as lesser. It's more like when I'm trying to figure out what's worth my time and energy. Like, I know a lot of people have like those light, happy, fun friends that like all you do is send memes back and forth all day long. And like, I have those friends too. And then there are the friends that you have the like deep life talks with. And typically, I would just rather have the one friend that I send a bunch of random memes to and have deep life talks with at different times versus have separate friends for those things. Like, I'm like, if I can get all of it from one person, then I don't need the one that I only get half of it from. And I don't think that it makes that person lesser. I think that it just makes that person like not my person, like not the person that I'm necessarily looking for. And I think my therapist feels like the way I'm not able to explain this to people in a way that where they understand what I just said. Like, I think the average person is like, thinks that I am super judgmental and I just dismiss everybody and I'm not interested in talking to anyone. I don't think anybody's worth my time. And like, unless you're in the inner circle of people that have known me since I was 6, then like, I don't want to speak to you. And that really is not true, but I'm not sure how to present the truth in a way that people can receive it, if that makes sense. And I also am totally unsure. Like, after we talked about the weather or where we're from or how many classes we're taking, and then there's that awkward, like, stand there and linger and like, all right, well, nice meeting you. And then you go back to your desk. Like, I don't know how many of those students like went back to their desks and felt like it was as comfortable as I did. Like, maybe they felt awesome. Maybe they were like, oh, cool, I met someone new. This is great. And it's totally just me that's like, okay, I met 20 new people today. I remember 4 of their names. I can assume that 90% of them are in the MDiv program because that's most of the school. But what does that do for me? Like, I don't have any of these people's numbers. I'm not going to call and get together with any of them this weekend. So, like, why does it matter that I learned a few new names? it honestly makes me like recoil back into my shell. Like maybe it's just the introvert in me that's like, why are strangers constantly talking to me? But it makes me like, if I get to campus early, I want to sit in my car until 30 seconds before class. Because I'm like, if I'm in the classroom long enough for someone to come talk to me, then I'm going to have this conversation again. And then I'm going to be upset. And then it's going to annoy me when like I could just sit in my car and then just rush in there and slide into my seat like as we're getting started, and I can avoid this. So my therapist is like, she feels like I really just want to be besties with everyone and just like surpass the whole, like I don't want to do the work to like become close friends. I want to just start off close friends, which like, yeah, that's true. I see people talking on social media all the time now about like feeling like dating is getting more that way the older you get, where instead of doing the whole talking stage, like once you hit your 30s, people are more just like, look, I'm trying to get married and I want to have kids. Like, let's just, what's your income? How much debt do you have? Like, let's just get all the hard hitting questions out of the way so that we know if this is going to work out or not, and not have to waste our time dating for 6 months to try to get to know each other before we talk about this stuff. And I think that I wish that friendship could just be more like that. Like, I wish that somebody could walk up to me and be like, hey, I just moved here from New York. I'm in a 3-year program. I'm only planning to be here for 3 years because then I'm going to go back to New York and plant a church. I am looking for somebody to be a close friend of mine in the 3 years that I'm going to be going to school here. I'm really into knitting and movies and brunch. And I could, then I could very easily just respond and be like, I'm not at all into knitting. I love brunch. I like movies. I could totally be a compatible friend for you, but I'm anxious knowing that we could get super close and then you're going to just move back to New York and then there's another friend that I don't have that lives close to me, but like, let's try it out. Like, I just wish that conversations could go like that right off the bat. But like, am I alone in this? Am I the only person on earth that wants this? Because I can't figure out if nobody else is bothered by the small talk. Or if they are, but they just don't know how to say it, or they don't know how to acknowledge it, or they don't know what to do in place of it. So like, this is just what we're doing. It's like, this is what I'm used to. This is what I know. And so I'm going to just go with this. What do you guys think? I have found that the people I say directly to their faces, like, I'm so tired of going through the like, where are you from, what are you studying, and then forgetting it 2 seconds later, like I want to talk about something else. Every time I've said that to somebody, they've been like, no, I get that, like I totally feel the same way, it's exhausting, what else can we do? Like, I feel like naming it helps other people be like, yeah, I feel the same way, but they didn't have the thought until I said it out loud. So it's like, am I really just disrupting harmony by doing this? I feel like I'm Divergent. Like, I'm in the Divergent series. Everyone else has been sorted into their factions and they're just going on about their business. And I'm like, this doesn't work for me. I don't want to pick a faction. All of this. So I'm just putting it out there. I legitimately want opinions on this. Please email your responses to realhonestpod@gmail.com. But like, are you having awkward conversations with people? Do you find it hard to converse with people in general, or do you find it easy? And if you find it easy, what's easy or enjoyable about it? If you find it hard, what is difficult about it? And does small talk bother you? Like, do you wish that it was easier to just like flat out say, like, here's what I'm looking for in a friend. Do you fit the bill? Yes or no, move on. And then you can skip all of the uncomfortable, like, timid, like, I wonder if they like me. Like, let's just tell each other, here's what I'm into. Here's what I'm into. Let's try hanging out a few times, see if it clicks. Continuing on with the awkward and uncomfortable vibe, my movie recommendation of the week is Speak No Evil. I absolutely loved this movie. It's so uncomfortable and it's so funny. I find it kind of strange. It's classified as a horror drama, which I just don't feel is accurate. It definitely is more thriller than horror. Maybe I need to look up like the actual definitions of the differences, but like, I was not afraid at any point, like watching this movie. I was on edge and uncomfortable in an awkward kind of way. And it's really, really funny. Like, I definitely would say it's more comedy than drama as well, which I think was intentional. I hope was intentional. Either way, it is a great movie. I'm not going to give you guys a synopsis of anything. You can watch the trailer or you can Google it. There's not really anything I can share about it that's not going to like give stuff away, but it's a fun, spooky season. Thrillers are in season. And it's just really, really awkward, but it's awkward in the best way. It's like, it was so uncomfortable, but like, maybe that's why they had the funny in there too. 'Cause it was like, people get like tense and uncomfortable, and then you get the release of laughing immediately after. Well, that's all I got for you today. Just a question, no real action steps. I'm just very, very curious about this. Want to get some thoughts. Have a great week.
I'm not here to sugarcoat, life's already a bumpy road. Too much shelter causes pain, let's just be real honest. Things are gonna knock you down, avoidance will not help you out. Let's talk it through, here me and you, let's keep it real honest.